People call this ravine the Chija River. Over more than 700 years, various races of people have migrated through here, and over time, they have created a multi-ethnic area. Since the Qing dynasty's rule from 1644, the Muslims have become the main inhabitants of this ravine. Only the name Chija River is left to remind us of the early Tibetan Chi tribe who lived here. Lama Dundab, who was named the 14th Dalai Lama, was born in Daksi village in Chija River. He was the son of Tibetan peasant Chicho Tsening and his wife Deji Tsening. Many believe that Chija River was a traditional Tibetan residential area. However, it's hard to tell the Tibetan residents here from other ethnic groups today, other than by their religious beliefs. Generally, the political and religious affairs were run by the Dalai Lama's servant monks or the regent priest before the new Dalai Lama reached adulthood. But no matter who was in charge, it satisfied the appetite for power among monks of the upper echelon. In October of 1939, Lama Dundab entered Lhasa in the yellow sedan, which symbolized the Dalai Lama's status. Under the maneuverings of the regent living Buddha Radon, this 5-year-old boy seemed to be the new Dalai Lama. Before that, the Tibetan Kashag government had already telegraphed the Kuomintang government to request that a high-level official be sent to host the ordination ceremony of the new Dalai Lama. In December 1939, Wu Zhongxing, chairman of the Kuomintang government's Commission on Mongolia and Tibet, arrived in Lhasa to a grand welcome. Since living Buddha Radon had already selected the reincarnated boy and given him a Buddhist name before Wu Zhongxing arrived in Lhasa, it was no longer necessary to draw the ivory lot from the golden urn. It was decided that Radon would draft a report to ask for special permission to exempt the child from the traditional drawing. Wu Zhongxing went to the Dalai Lama's summer palace to test the child and thought that all the mystical requirements had been fulfilled. On February 5th, the central government replied to the request by the regent living Buddha Radon and exempted the reincarnated boy from the drawing. He became the 14th Dalai Lama by special decree. After the ordination ceremony, the reincarnated boy Lama Dundab became Dalai Lama Tenzin Gyatso. This peasant boy now ascended to a place as loftiest and most mysterious representative of this ancient theocratic society. He was surrounded by old men who devoted themselves to guarding the theocracy and their power. According to the agreements for peaceful liberation of Tibet, nothing was changed of the feudal slave system practiced in Tibet. It's a theocratic medieval social system. The production tools and the production styles were extremely backward, and the labor and production efficiency extremely low. In the Lhasa River Valley, with its mediocre natural conditions, the harvest of barley was only 8 to 10 times the amount of the seeds planted. Under such circumstances, the ranch economy, which highly concentrated both land and labor, made it easy for the ruling class to grow wealthy. That's why wherever the Kashag government's power could reach, nearly all the land belonged to the ranches, and the ranches belonged to the temples, the nobles, or the Kashag government. They're termed the 3 major masters in Tibetan tradition. Most of the common people were forced into the ranch system as serfs and performed collective labor. The serfs had no rights. They were not allowed to leave the ranch. Everything had to be granted by the masters, including marriage. If 2 serfs of different masters married, their sons would belong to the father's master and their daughters to the mother's. The serfs also had to pay the masters and all passing officials corvée service and provide everything they demanded. Because of the low productivity, the 3 major masters had to increase taxes to satisfy their extravagant appetites. The serfs had to give away most of what they grew to their masters, leaving little for themselves and their families. The scenes here are reminiscent of the religious courts of Europe, or places like the London Tower or the Bastille. This is a wooden log for 4 prisoners' feet. They could only lie on the wet ground. The documents and files kept in the Tibetan archives can help us understand that society. Punishments in Old Tibet were cruel. The officials often used means such as amputation, cutting wrists and ankle tendons, gouging eyes, and cutting out tongues. The Tibetan prisons did not provide food. The prisoners walked along the streets in chains and begged. This was witnessed by visitors from around the world. Naturally, the central government officials who witnessed this wished to change the cruel system. However, according to the 17 agreements, they could only wait for the autonomous reform of the local Tibetan government led by the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama and Panchen Lama went to Beijing for the First People's Congress in 1959. Numerous craftsmen rushed for the exquisite gifts. Thousands of people went to the Lhasa River bank to see the Dalai Lama off to Beijing. The Dalai Lama and the Panchen Lama finally reached Beijing after flying on an airplane and riding a train. They were ceremoniously greeted at the railway station. In Zhongnanhai, the Dalai Lama met Chairman Mao for the first time. He presented Chairman Mao with a hada and an inscribed gold prayer wheel. It says, "In 1954, as a representative to the First National People's Congress, in the political and religious traditions of Tibet, I, Dalai Lama, present this gold wheel with honor to the great leader of all ethnic groups in our country, Chairman Mao, as my praise and prayer." During this period when he was in Beijing, the Dalai Lama met Chairman Mao on numerous occasions, and the two exchanged views. They seemed like close old friends. At the First National People's Congress, the Dalai Lama and the Panchen Lama each made speeches. After this exciting meeting, the Dalai Lama and the Panchen Lama spent several months touring and visiting all around the entire country. The inland was indeed richer and more advanced than Tibet. The young Dalai Lama, who was fond of mechanics, repeatedly expressed his intention to mold Tibet into a place as prosperous as the country's inland.